This domineering man is Yu Huatian, the supervisor of the West Factory. He used his acting skills to let people know that being feminine and being sissy are not the same thing at all. During the Chenghua period of the Ming Dynasty, the emperor was incapable of managing the court, so he set up the East and West factories. The East factory was headed by Wan Yulu, who performed investigation duties and held the power of life and death over civil and military officials. The West factory was managed by Yu Huatian, who secretly investigated intelligence for the emperor and eliminated dissidents. On this day, Wan Yulu, the leader of the East factory, came to the shipyard. He arrested a group of loyal officials who risked their lives to give advice on the grounds of supervision. In front of many officers and soldiers, Wan Yulu still spoke out, saying that although he had amassed wealth wantonly, no one could bring him to justice. Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, countless wooden pillars fell from the sky. When everyone looked at each other, two assassins suddenly appeared. They walked among the crowd, and officers and soldiers kept falling wherever they passed. After they protected the three officials, another wooden pillar fell rapidly. Wan Yulu fought back with one palm, but unexpectedly another person appeared in the cabin, stepped heavily on the wooden pillar, and rushed towards Wan Yulu. Then the two of them got entangled. The assassin's martial arts were unfathomable. He faced the top master of the East factory, but he was able to suppress him. His fist instantly turned into countless phantoms, and he attacked the opponent with lightning speed, directly knocking Wan Yulu away for dozens of meters. If it weren't for the golden silk soft armor protecting his body, he would have died on the spot. Zhao Huai'an flashed forward again, and Wan Yulu knew that he was no match for him, so he kept dealing with him on the bridge. Wan Yulu drew his sword, and he relied on his superb swordsmanship to fight Zhao Huai'an, but he still couldn't gain any advantage. Zhao Huai'an's swordsmanship had reached perfection, and his ghostly moves left Wan Yulu powerless to fight back. Facing such a fierce attack, Wan Yulu completely lost his former prestige. He was in a panic as he was defeated step by step. Seeing this, Zhao Huai'an no longer held back. He grabbed Wan Yulu's clothes and pulled him down. He then swung his sword dozens of times with the force of a gust of wind. After breaking his python robe, he stabbed his armor with one sword and finally kicked Wan Yulu to the roof. In this way, the arrogant Wan Yulu was sent away by Zhao Huai'an's sword, and his head was hung on the city wall to deter the traitors and treacherous parties in the world. And the three officials who were framed were also rescued. Zhao Huai'an looked at the loyal people who had to leave their hometowns, and they were helpless. Now, under the persecution of the East and West factories, the politics of this dynasty actually need people from the martial arts world to decide right and wrong. Because several senior officials of the East factory died, the deputy director of the East factory was scared and hid in the temple. After receiving the news of Wan Yulu's tragic death, Yu Huatian, who had always been at odds with the East factory, naturally would not miss this opportunity to laugh. Yu Huatian mocked these cowards and said that a swordsman in the rivers and lakes was not to be feared at all. The reason why Yu Huatian was so arrogant was not only because of his unparalleled martial arts. As the number one in the West factory, he was also favored by concubine Wan. With the support of concubine Wan, the power of the West factory grew day by day, and it was powerful in the court. Concubine Wan's purpose was to let Yu Huatian keep a close eye on the women in the palace and prevent them from getting close to the emperor, so as to preserve her own position in the palace. Yu Huatian lived up to her trust and solved her troubles every time. However, there were still some mistakes. A maid named Su Huirong was pregnant, and she secretly escaped from the palace. Yu Huatian, who learned the news, immediately sent people to chase her. At this time, Su Huirong had gone far away by boat, but because of the sachet thrown into the river, her whereabouts were exposed. Just when the third head of the West factory was about to order the execution of Su Huirong, a black-clothed knight suddenly flew down from a high altitude. She used a bamboo pole to cut off the executioner's left arm in an instant. The Jinyue was facing a great enemy, but the knight did not want to entangle with it. She jumped into the air and pointed her sword directly at the third head. Her swordsmanship was unpredictable. After easily picking up the third head's weapon, she accumulated strength and stabbed his abdomen with a sword. Seeing that the Jinyue was still ready to move, the knight directly put his sword against the third head's neck. After all the Jinyue jumped into the water, the knight did not kill the third head, but asked him to help her do something. The knight asked him to go back and tell his boss that the knight was Zhao Huai'an. Little did he know that the real Zhao Huai'an was witnessing this scene not far away. The black-clothed knight was actually named Lin Yangqiu. She had loved Zhao Huai'an for many years, but Zhao Huai'an was hard to find. Lin Yangqiu had no choice but to pretend to be him. In order to avoid the pursuit of the West Factory, Lin Yangqiu took Su Huirong to the west by water. Yu Huatian soon received the news that the palace maid was robbed, and he was worthy of being the head of the West Factory. He immediately guessed the escape route of the two of them, because it was impossible to return to the capital from the east, and it was not suitable to go north due to the bumpy road. Only going west by water was the best for pregnant women. After determining the direction, Yu Huatian prepared to set sail. Unexpectedly, Zhao Huai'an's two companions quietly appeared at this time. They knocked down several Jinyue cleanly. The first boss, Ma Jinliang, had been waiting for a long time, and the two of them rushed forward. But Ma Jinliang, as the first boss of the Western Factory, was naturally very skilled in martial arts. The two swords in his hands were extremely powerful, and ordinary people could hardly match him. Just as the three of them confronted each other, the sails behind them collapsed. Zhao Huai'an flew over, but Yu Huatian had expected it and accurately avoided the assassination. But Yu Huatian was not afraid of Zhao Huai'an at all. He just saw him perched down from a high place, and the two of them fought together. The duel between the two masters was inevitably exciting. Although they met for the first time, they had heard of each other's names, so they both tried their best. During their fight, Zhao Huai'an gradually fell behind. He never expected that Yu Huatian was so strong, and his swordsmanship was even better than his. Yu Huatian found the right opportunity, and he shot out a sword from his weapon, which moved around the opponent in an unpredictable way. After Zhao Huai'an resisted the attack, he had several more wounds on his body. Seeing that his two companions were no match for Ma Jinliang, Zhao Huai'an decided to retreat. He took advantage of the situation and jumped onto the board. After forcing Ma Jinliang back with a sword, he helped his injured companion and wanted to escape immediately, but the Jinyue were ready to go. His companion knew that he could not escape today, so he jumped and held Ma Jinliang tightly at the cost of his own life. Although Zhao Huai'an was heartbroken, he could only jump into the water in a panic. After their delay, Lin Yangqiu and the others finally arrived at Longmen Inn. Su Huirong wanted to order a bowl of mutton noodles, but she stopped him immediately. It turned out that this was a black shop, and all the meat in the shop was human meat. Soon, the second and third heads of the West Factory also came here, and they hid immediately when they saw this. In order not to alert the enemy, the people of the West Factory could only hide their identities. The Tatar woman kicked the ladder, and even the table on the ground was carried away. But the second in command caught it with just one hand, and then jumped up and kicked it back. Unexpectedly, the Tatar woman clung to the second in command like a dog-skin plaster. Just when the two sides were about to fight, the innkeeper stepped forward and told everyone that he would pay for the meal, which made both sides calm down. Seeing that he had lost face, the second in command would not let it go easily. In the afternoon, he sent someone to sneak into the kitchen and threatened the waiter to put drugs in the wine jar. He was going to poison the Tatars. At this time, Su Huirong, who was hiding outside the window, heard the conversation inside and accidentally shouted. The second in command's men rushed out in a hurry. Although he did not see anyone, he found the sachet they had left behind. After the second in command received the news, he knew that Su Huirong must be around, and immediately ordered people to search near the inn. Little did he know that Su Huirong and the others had already hidden in the secret passage. It turned out that Lin Yangqiu was the former proprietress of Longmen Inn. She left this place to find her beloved Zhao Huai'an. No one knew the layout of the inn better than her. As night fell, there were laughter and joy in the inn, but the second in command looked unhappy. He had already ordered people to poison, but after 3 rounds of drinking, the Tatars were still safe and sound. Just as he was puzzled, his men beside him suddenly foamed at the mouth. It turned out that the Tatars had seen through the trick long ago, and they had secretly switched the drinks. Just as the two sides were on the verge of a fight, 2 chivalrous knights broke in from outside the door. The appearance of one of them shocked everyone in the West Factory. He looked exactly like the supervisor Yu Huatian. To be on the safe side, second in command immediately ordered people to go to the post station 50 kilometers away to confirm where the governor was. The man's name was Feng Lidao, who had been in the underworld for many years. Although his martial arts skills were mediocre, he was eloquent. Now that Feng Lidao's identity had not been figured out, second in command had to put away his weapon first. Hearing that there was a person who looked like him, Yu Huatian immediately came up with a plan. He planned to pretend to be Feng Lidao and catch them all in one fell swoop. In order to distinguish the true from the false, Yu Huatian also said a code word. After his subordinates memorized the code word, they hurried back to the inn. But Yu Huatian never expected that. Except for the West Factory, everyone in the inn had known each other for a long time. And they gathered here for only one purpose: It is said that 500 years ago, this was the capital of the Western Xia Kingdom, Heishui City, and there was countless gold in the city at that time. But with the fall of the Western Xia Kingdom, Blackwater City was buried by sandstorms overnight. Feng Lidao got the news that there would be a black sandstorm every 60 years, when Blackwater City would break out of the ground. Now that the sandstorm is coming, it is the opportunity for several people to dig for treasure. In order to find out the purpose of the West Factory's trip, they asked Feng Lidao to go and test the waters. Feng Lidao then went to the West Factory's residence alone. When the second-in-command saw this, he was extremely alert. But because the sent-out younger brother had not returned yet, he could not distinguish the truth from the false. He could only step forward, keep testing, and make him tell the previous plan. Feng Lidao heard this, and he was extremely nervous. But when he came to his senses, he slapped the second-in-command in the face several times in a row. The second-in-command was beaten to tears, and now he could not guess the other party's identity. He could only bear it. Finally, at Feng Lidao's request, he repeated the whole plan. At this time, the younger brother who was sent out had rushed back and happened to meet Feng Lidao, who was about to go downstairs. In order not to alert the enemy, the younger brother could only pretend to say hello. After walking out of the door, Feng Lidao finally breathed a sigh of relief. But then he was held hostage by Zhao Huai'an again. It turned out that Zhao Huai'an followed the younger brother all the way here. According to him, Feng Lidao's identity has been exposed. At the same time, while everyone was waiting for Feng Lidao to come back, they heard a sound coming from the secret room. They searched everywhere inside, and Lin Yangqiu saw this and planned to strike first. She took advantage of the terrain and arrived in front of Gu Xiaotang in just a moment. Gu Xiaotang leaned over directly and shot several flying knives at Lin Yangqiu. There was a barb at the end of the flying knives, which were linked together. Fortunately, Lin Yangqiu's swordsmanship was fast enough, and the two fought hard for a while. But when Zhao Huai'an appeared, Lin Yangqiu's expression began to be dazed. Gu Xiaotang seized the opportunity to shoot him. At the critical moment, Zhao Huai'an kicked the wooden board away and saved Lin Yangqiu in time. But Zhao Huai'an was concerned about the people and had no time to care about love. Then he told everyone that Feng Lidao's identity had been discovered, and the people from the West Factory were about to kill him. He analyzed the pros and cons to everyone, and now they could only survive by working together. Zhao Huai'an began to plan. He first asked the Tatars to take the antidote, persuade the people who were poisoned before, and let all the horses go. Then Feng Lidao pretended to be the governor and went to inform. During this period, he also accidentally learned the first half of the code word. When the people in the West Factory were interrogating the traitor, the people in the warehouse immediately created a lot of thick smoke, tricking them all out of the house. Then the shopkeeper took the opportunity to steal the government office and let Feng Lidao pretend to be the commander-in-chief. When the second-in-command was about to ask for the secret code, Feng Lidao, who didn't know the second half of the sentence, could only speak the first half first. After hesitating again and again, he finally said the second half. Feng Lidao smiled knowingly after hearing it, and then angrily accused the big bosses of falling into the trap of luring the tiger away from the mountain. They immediately went back to the house to check, and sure enough, there was no one. At this time, the Tatars outside immediately fired thousands of arrows, and they killed everyone in the West Factory by surprise. It was not until the third boss found that his official uniform was stolen that they realized that they were deceived by Feng Lidao again. At this time, Yu Huatian finally led the army to Longmen Inn. The big boss immediately began to exchange secret signals. In this way, the people of the West Factory started fighting with each other. The battle was extremely fierce, and even the third boss died on the spot. Seeing that both sides were defeated, Zhao Huai'an knew that the time was ripe, so they began to divide their troops into 4 groups to launch a siege. The Tatar female leader found the second boss, and Gu Xiaotang chose to fight Ma Jinliang. But he was not his opponent at all. After a few moves, he was beaten and vomited blood. Seeing that Gu Xiaotang was about to die here, Zhao Huai'an appeared in time. But Ma Jinliang's double swords were forged with black iron, and with a slight vibration, they split Zhao Huai'an's weapon into 2. Seeing this, Zhao Huai'an no longer underestimated the enemy. After several punches, he split Ma Jinliang's mask with a sword, revealing a terrifying face. Ma Jinliang was furious when he saw this, and he rushed forward with his double swords in hand. Zhao Huai'an decisively bounced up the sharp blade on the ground, accurately hit the opponent's forehead, and jumped down, ending Ma Jinliang's life. On the other side, the second-in-command, who was fooled and confused, finally ended his miserable life with the help of the Tatar female leader and Gu Xiaotang. Seeing that his men were so vulnerable, Yu Huatian casually drew out the guard sword. shattered the blade with his internal force, and countless fragments flew towards the Tatars. This move alone killed several people. Knowing that the others were no match, Zhao Huai'an went straight to Yu Huatian. Although he had 2 swords in his hands at this time, he was still unable to match him. After a few moves, he was knocked off his horse by Yu Huatian. In order to restrain Yu Huatian's mother and child sword, Zhao Huai'an tied chains to his 2 swords. As expected, Yu Huatian used boomerangs after a few moves. Fortunately, with the blessing of the iron chain, Zhao Huai'an blocked all the swords. Moreover, he also cut a wound on Yu Huatian's pretty face. At this time, there was a strong wind all around. Dark clouds pressed down in the sky, and thunder surged in the dark. Everyone realized that the legendary black sandstorm that occurs once every 60 years was coming, and they all fled into the secret passage. Zhao Huai'an jumped on his horse and rushed towards the direction of the black sandstorm. Faced with his provocation, the arrogant Yu Huatian did not hesitate, and resolutely chose to keep the appointment. The two came to the bottom of the black sandstorm. Zhao Huai'an suddenly jumped up. He swung the chain to wrap around Yu Huatian's arm and then dragged him to the center of the storm. He intended to die together. The tornado was full of flying sand and rocks. They couldn't open their eyes, but they still insisted on fighting. In front of the terrifying power of nature, Longmen Inn collapsed instantly. The two of them fell into the golden roof together with their broken arms and broken edges. Yu Huatian and Zhao Huai'an also fell into it. Zhao Huai'an woke up first. He wanted to give Yu Huatian a fatal blow while he was still asleep, but this kick gave him a turning point. A precious sword that could cut iron like mud fell into his hand. At this time, as the storm passed, the magnificent Blackwater city appeared before his eyes. Everyone entered the palace with joy. They just saw Yu Huatian and the other two who had just woken up. Yu Huatian said little. Suddenly attacked, he flew forward and hijacked Gu Xiaotang. Everyone did not dare to act rashly. Looking at the gold all around, Yu Huatian also became greedy. But an hour later, a new black sandstorm would hit. If they continued to stalemate here, then everyone would be buried deep underground with the gold. In desperation, Zhao Huai'an decided to stay as a hostage, and after everyone moved the gold away, he would settle the grudges with Yu Huatian. But what no one expected was that Su Huirong killed Lin Yangqiu while moving the gold. She stabbed Lin Yangqiu several times. They suddenly realized that Su Huirong had always been a spy of the West Factory. Before everyone could react, Su Huirong turned back again and laid extremely sharp golden silk in the passage. She sneaked up to Zhao Huai'an, wanting to kill him with the golden silk. Zhao Huai'an was suspicious. Seeing that her trick was exposed, Su Huirong suddenly attacked, but Zhao Huai'an dodged it by leaning sideways and then pushed it away with a palm. As they confronted each other, the black sandstorm was gradually approaching. Feng Lidao and his men, he immediately smashed a hole in the roof. After seeing the escape exit, Zhao Huai'an signaled Gu Xiaotang to leave quickly, and he stayed here to make the final decision. Seeing this, Su Huirong could only flee first, but was stopped by Gu Xiaotang. Gu Xiaotang's flying knives were linked together, and it was hard to defend against them. Su Huirong was hit in the vitals by a move, and finally she was cut into pieces by her own golden silk. At this time, Lin Yangqiu didn't want Zhao Huai'an to take risks alone, and was about to step forward to draw the sword to help him, but Yu Huatian suddenly attacked. Lin Yangqiu could only dodge in panic, but fortunately Zhao Huai'an flew forward, and after several kicks, he rode on Yu Huatian's shoulders and smashed Yu Huatian down heavily. Lin Yangqiu was about to pursue the victory, but was almost injured by the golden silk. Although Zhao Huai'an rescued him in time, he was caught by Yu Huatian when he saw the gap. Lin Yangqiu stabbed Zhao Huai'an's chest with his long sword, but Zhao Huai'an ignored the pain and kicked Yu Huatian with a set of shadowless kicks and then kicked the sword away from his chest. Lin Yangqiu, who was freed from the restraints, took the opportunity to swing the sword, and with the flash of swords and shadows, he killed Yu Huatian on the spot with lightning speed. With the help of Feng Lidao and others, the two escaped at the last moment. After the storm, Blackwater City completely disappeared, and the familiar desert returned to its original appearance, silent, as if nothing had happened. After the events of the past few days, Lin Yangqiu decided not to bother Zhao Huai'an anymore. Zhao Huai'an, who woke up from his coma, finally understood the truth of cherishing the person in front of him. So he immediately rode his horse and set out on the road to pursue Lin Yangqiu. At this point, the evil official who had great power in the court had been removed. Gu Xiaotang decided to stay here and rebuild the Longmen Inn, waiting for the two to return. Feng Lidao took the female leader back to the palace. continuing to pretend to be Yu Huatian. After poisoning concubine Wan, who had brought disaster to the country and the people, he lived a wealthy life.